Hi, this is János, it is Real World Audio, and from time to time I get questions and comments about measurements, that you would like to see me do certain measurements, and there's always big interest in that, and we are all curious about how gear measures, myself included. I'm guilty of that curiosity as well, and on my videos you see here I'm showing my playlist of the measurements. So when you go to my channel's homepage and you click on playlist, there's one that says measurements. So I have over 50 videos in that measurements section, and you can browse it. But I have to warn everyone that in most of them I talk about measurements and how to interpret measurements, and it's very few of my videos that contain me actually doing measurements. Although, as you see there, I have a scope there, and I use it regularly, but I think so far you have seen the scope in very few videos until now. And I have another scope, the Big Tech, that you have seen. This is just a baby scope, and this is what you see usually with people. This is an old analog scope, and now you get the same thing in the digital scope. Those are much more tiny form factor, but does the same thing for far less money than what these scopes cost in their time, and they have much better capabilities of analyzing the output and go high in the megahertz range, maybe gigahertz range, which I don't need at all for audio. For audio purposes, a nice analog scope is plenty, but I have another scope which is a big Tektronix scope. It's one of the finest analog scopes ever made, and actually that unit that I have was actually used to calibrate satellites, so it's not kiddie stuff. But right now that scope also needs what this baby needed, which is a rebuild, and that will be something really involved and elaborate. Even just recapping, rebuilding this scope took me quite a long while. It's a really tedious work. If you have good eyes, not so tedious, but you see, I have glasses, so for me it wasn't so obvious to work on these small parts. So going back to measurements, I think now it's clear that I'm fascinated by measurements as well, but I am giving everyone a very serious, hard warning. And that warning comes from experience, not from reading books, not from theorizing, but experience of me doing measurements, my friends doing measurements, those people who did it out of curiosity, like me and my friends. But there were some of my friends in audio who are engineers, who are university professors, and they do measurements for life as well. So we are not just talking about, like kids playing in the courtyard, like blades of grass or something like that, which is comparing stuff like that, not that level, but professional level as well. And also I talked to and I watched interviews with people who are professionals who measure audio gear for life. What is their experience? How practical is it to use measurements to develop audio gear? Because there's two very different things with measurements. One of them is to measure your gear to make sure it doesn't have big problems with it. And the other one is measure for the sake of improving your gear for developmental purposes. And measuring it so you understand what's going on inside the gear, for me, that's something that I am interested in, and that's what I'm trying to educate in my channel, so that you look at measurements from that standpoint that can help you identify problems that you have with your gear, but using measurements to justify performance, That's absolute baloney. It's complete nincompoop, blah blah, gaga land. People taking hallucinogenic drugs have more reason to do so than people justifying audio quality with measurements. I am not supporting at all any kind of hallucinogenic agents. I'm not even supporting alcohol abuse. No, that's not what it's about. I'm very strongly against those subjects, and as you see, I'm pretty strongly against using measurements for justification as well. And why is that? It's not because I don't believe in measurements, but when I talk to those people who try to do that for decades, they've spent decades of their life, not that like, oh, I read an interesting video or I read an interesting book or something, oh, I found a video where this guy is talking about that and I try it, wow, that's amazing. That's nothing. Even if you watch 10 videos and you try 10 things where the guy promises you that this is the real deal and it will tell you what this is, it's nothing. I can promise you that. And why? Because over decades, when you cumulatively add together your experience of measurements, you find out after tens of years that all they did was satisfy your scientific curiosity and did not help you significantly towards achieving a better sound, or if they did, they help you a little bit. So I'm putting measurements now into the context of your audio journey as far as it relates to you improving your system's audio quality, your system's subjective audio quality, that you can hear and people can hear that, okay, now it sounds better as compared to sounding worse, because that's what we want from audio gear, to make it sound better, that it causes you more happiness and less pain. So if both of the categories are true, then you have improved your system. And if you want to do that through measurements, it's like, I give you the exact analogy for that, it's like driving your car and watching the rear view mirror all the time. So doing a measurement is watching the rear view mirror. Looking in the front, what's ahead of you, where you are driving, how's 90% of your driving experience, it's defined by what you hear. And your skills to work on your hearing, how to make it conscious what is unconscious. Because unconsciously, all of us know. You sit down, you listen to it, it's crap. You sit down, listen to it, amazing. This violin sounds like real violin. Or, wow, those drums are really, really engaging. You know, my feet are tapping and I feel all the energy and awesome. And that's something. So when you have that, we all have that. But going into that layer to make the unconscious bits conscious, like for example, like micro details, what was happening with the tonality, the transients, dynamic resolution, textural resolution, all of those audiophile terms is bringing into light that bit of the information content that our ears, that the brain receives, which are subconscious. So the more of the subconscious you are aware of, the better you can gauge your audio system and use these internal measurements that this most amazing computer ever conceived is capable of doing. Because those measurements that the human brain does far, far, far exceed anything that at our current level any oscilloscope or any computerized measurement system can perform. It's way, way beyond that. And so going back to that, those measurements that are done with your human computer, rely on them and trust them. And I know for some people it's doing these measurements is the one that gives up your confidence to start listening to your hearing. I do have friends like that who started out as audiophiles and were really, really into measuring. And now, 2 decades later, all of them go by hearing, because by now they've developed enough skills, enough listening skills to trust their ears. And now they are using measurements to confirm whether that gear works or not, and identify minute problems that might, if they solve it, they will help them. And that's really nice, but they go firstly with their hearing. That's their driving, that's how they drive. Human hearing, human measurements, and electronic measurements come second. That is because they have learned the painful truth, which is, if you depend on computer measurements alone and use that as the steering force to drive your developments, you will be left far, far beyond. Because when you are driving in your car and all the time you are checking the rear view mirror, you have no idea what's in front of you, so you have 2 choices. You drive at a crail speed, like a snow speed, like a snail. Sorry, not snow, snail. Why am I thinking of snow? Because I don't have any here. Yeah, sad. I look outside and there's no snow, but there's plenty of snails and slugs. Oh, gee. Anyway, then if you don't watch what's in front of you, you have to drive at a snow. Again, I want to say snow. I don't know. At a snail speed, because you're always watching what's behind you. Yeah, you'll be very safe. No one will when someone comes from behind, you will see them right away. But 90% of the danger is ahead of you. And measurements are not going to help with that. It's the human computer that helps with that. And I noticed that all of those who are obsessed with measurements get stuck at a certain level, and even 10 years later they are still at the same level. And they come and proudly say, "Oh, János, look what I have, da da da." But both when you go over and listen to their system, and wow, it sounds exactly like what we had 10 years ago, nothing changed. and they come and listen to your system, what the fuck? This is like unbelievable, what happened? It's just like, just go, when you travel on the road, look forward. Don't glue your vision, don't fixate on the periphery. So measurements, if you fixate on them and try to use them as the driving force, they will not drive your car. It's you, it's your hearing that drives your car of the audio journey. So that's my little video for today. That's my message, that I really appreciate everyone asking for measurements. And what I am doing is I'm sharing what I think of measurements, what is their place, and how they will help you the most with your audio journey. But am I going to go deep and just come up with tons of measurements and perform them because you are curious? It is much better if you watch channels who do tons of measurements for the sake of doing measurements, and just learn from them. Because for me, that's mostly a waste of time. And even though I think they are fun, I don't want to do that all the time on my channel, because that would give the impression that that is important. And no, that's not that important that we should stay fixated on doing it ourselves. You are driving your car into a ditch if you are in that mentality. You should use measurements as a helper tool on the side. But if you make that as your driving, as your guiding star, you end up on a tree, in a ditch, running over a person or running into another car. So thank you for your comments and wonderful questions. And I do promise that you will see me doing measurements when there's the right place and right time to do those. And also measurements which are simple and which are not so complicated to do, those will be high on my priority list to share with you, and it will come on time. When I happen to do something like that, I will film it for you and publish. But for now, I will not go out of my way and start doing measurements when I don't need it, because as you have seen, lately I posted very few videos. It takes me ages to answer comments, so I don't really have time to set those things up and do things like that, because as you know, like doing measurement videos, you have to set up for that, so it's not so easy that I just sit down and whip it up. Have an amazing day. Please like my videos if you like them, and subscribe if you have not yet, and hit that notification bell. If you don't hit the notification bell thingy, then YouTube will not inform you that I have new videos. So that's why when you watch those videos, they're saying, hit the notification bell. And there's like, what? Is that guy crazy? What's he about? He wants everything. What? He wants to rule the world. That's the next. What's going on? So no, they're saying that because if you don't hit the notification bell, YouTube is not going to suggest you the new videos of the channel. And if you like me, I don't have any mug of tea or coffee with me. It's just early morning. I just woke up. But anyway, so you can get me a mug of coffee through Buy Me a Coffee. That's a little support for the channel, and I'm truly just thrilled that there's so many of you who are sharing your support with me. Just, you know, energy coming and going. I'm sharing education, I'm sharing my knowledge, my skills, and you are sharing some of your hard-earned money. That's, even if it's as little as $2, you can share with Buy Me a Coffee, and I will be using that to improve my camera gear, so you get better video, and also for tips and tweaks. I will use it to get stuff that you are interested in, and I will make videos on them. And yes, I got stuff from the Buy Me a Coffee that I haven't talked about yet, and I will talk about them in the future, and we'll see your coffee put to good use. Bye bye, have an awesome day.